Hey, what's poppin', guys? Fizzle here. Today we're taking a look at the Tec-9 skins in CS to try, figure out what the best one is. First out we have stock. I mean, it's your really basic stock weapon, just generally gray, normal finish. Nothing crazy about it. It's not like a really good-looking stock or anything. It's all right. There's nothing good or really bad about it. Very solid, D tier stock. Then we have our first actual skin, the Tornado. The Tornado, on the other hand, has a relatively clean finish. I mean, the top is a nice color tan. The bottom is a pretty solid color of blue. The only weird part being this weird fade in the front, which is weirdly common like every Tec-9 skin. I don't actually know if there's any that don't have this fade in the front. But yeah, I mean, it's a nice looking like skin, really clean across the board. No real complaints other than maybe they could have used like better colors, but this is just a really good looking skin. You can't really complain about it. I'd say actually probably a B tier skin in this case, because like a lot of tornadoes have the problem of scratches or slight misplacement of colors and stuff, even though they generally look really clean. But this tornado skin just, I mean, it's like it was built for this weapon or something. They did it really well. Then next up we have the groundwater, which it's a just green Tec-9. Nothing crazy, nothing bad. I mean, nothing you can really say about it, right? It's just clean with a mediocre color. That's all there is to it. Then we have the Tec-9 Army Mesh, which, I mean, yeah, I guess this is an Army Mesh. It's like the worst camo skin I've ever seen in my life, and then it's also covered by the mesh, which makes it look even worse. It's like a little fishing net, like plastic. It's like the plastic thing they use for, like, Gatorade and stuff. You know what I mean? They got that on there. Doesn't look good at all. I would never use this. I don't even like camo skins, and this is just a level below that, so... Yeah, very solid F tier, assuming I can figure out which one of them it is from these tiny little previews. I'm gonna guess this one. I might be wrong on that, but yeah, F tier, either way. Then next up we have the Urban DD Pat, which, yeah, it's a camo skin, but like white and gray. I like the colors a bit more, but it's still camo skin, so probably D tier. Still debatably worse than stock, but honestly in this case it's probably a bit better just because of the colors. Then next up we have the Bamboo Forest. Really bright skin, has some bamboo maybe on it, debatably. Basically just almost a white skin though, but without the cleanliness because it has these random bamboo leaves everywhere and it has still that weird fade in the front that really just looks kind of a bit out of place, but you never really see the front I mean, you do see the front really often, but you never focus on it that much because all the skins have it looking pretty much like that, so... It's okay. I mean, good colors, very low tier design, just solid C tier. Then we have the Phoenix Chalk. Yeah, it's chalk. It has some design on it, but it is so... This is like chalk that has been left out during like a hurricane or something, because this is like the most dull chalk I've ever seen in my life. There might be a design somewhere on here, but it would take, like, you need like a magnifying glass and like 50 things of lighting in order to even have a chance at seeing it. Otherwise, you just see like a really bad, like, colored Tec-9. It's really not that great. I'd say probably a low D tier. Then next up, we have the Tec-9 Very Camo. It's a camo skin. I don't like camo skins. It's just your basic camo skin. There's nothing inherently wrong with that, right? If you like camo skins, go ahead and use this, but I don't like camo skins, so I will not be using this, and I will actually be putting it at the bottom of D tier. Then we have the Tec-9 Hades, which has a bunch of like Spartan helmets, with a decently bright color scheme. I mean, that's all there is to it. Not like particularly amazing Spartan helmets, just kind of almost like silhouettes. You're not going to notice them most of the time other than this main one right here, which you can kind of draw your eyes to, and then you start looking around, you're like, oh, those are Spartan helmets. It's got like the same thing as honestly the bamboo, but with like a slightly better pattern, even though the pattern itself is still kind of bad, so probably low C tier. Then next up we have the Tec-9 Orange Murano. I think that's how you say it. It's like the old furniture type pattern. Really dull, really boring, really a lot of nothing going on here. I would honestly probably use the camo skin that I don't like over this thing. It's just, there's a lot of nothing going on here. Probably a F tier. Not like as low as the other thing in F tier. That mesh camo was horrible. but it still really isn't great. Then we have the Tec-9 Rust Leaf, which, yeah, really dull, but at least an okay pattern, but I still wouldn't use this over stock. I mean, it's called the Rust Leaf. It actually does look kind of rusty because of the color scheme used on this, even though there's no actual rust anywhere to be seen. So I guess I'll give it credit for that, but like this is barely staying afloat in the bottom parts of D tier. The next up, we have the Tec-9 Ossified, which is stock Tec-9, but with some weird like PNG of acid on the top. It doesn't look like acid or anything. It's very clearly like a low-res like picture on the top there almost. It doesn't look like horrible or anything, but it really just does not look that great. Probably a little bit better than stock, just because you got something going on there, right? There is some difference, right? You can see it. Not like really great, but it definitely probably isn't that bad. So yeah, I think it's fair to put this right with stock. Tec-9 Brass, same thing but with the brass top. Honestly, I thought at least the Ossified was somewhat unique and had like almost glowing color to it. This honestly just looks worse than stock. I would just use stock over this. It's not like horrible or anything, but it's just worse than stock. Speaking of which, I didn't even put this in the right order. There you go. The next up is the Tec-9 Toxic. This is a really common pattern I see a lot. The skull with bones, like this pattern's on everything when radiation symbols on the skull and bones. This one does it okay. I mean, the color scheme is actually really nice, like red, light blue, and like black actually look kind of good together. The mag sticks out like a sore thumb, but you never really see it, so it's fine, and at least the color is somewhat, like the rest of it. It's nothing great, though. It really doesn't have, like, these are supposed to be vibrant colors, but they somehow really look dull when put together like this. You can even see that in the preview. I mean, just look at the thing next to that skin. It's very noticeable, but it's still not completely horrible, probably a high D tier. Next up is the Tec-9 Tierlist, which is the one we were just looking at. Really absurdly bright skin, and that's really all it is. Really bright colors, like bright yellow, bright white, and then honestly that's a pretty bright color of like black or gray. Otherwise, the design's kind of iffy. It's almost looks like a camo skin, but it's like absurdly bright to the point that it actually is just kind of good in the fact that it is so bright. Kind of like the others, but definitely the worst of those three in C tier. Next up, we have the Tec-9 Blast from the Past, which is a skin name I've never even heard of. And I can kind of see why. I mean, it's there. It definitely exists. I don't know. I mean, there's a bunch of like things pieced together. It almost looks like a vase someone glued back together, except unlike that vase, which normally looks kind of pretty or something, this really just doesn't. Got a lot of nothing going on. This is probably worse than that camo skin. Probably, honestly, just an F tier for me. I wouldn't use this. I can see why I've never heard of this before. Then we have the Tec-9 Safety Net, which, yeah, I mean, it's orange, but a horrible design. I actually got dropped an AK Safety Net like a few months ago, which was like $5, but I really could not tell you why. Maybe it's like a good trade-up skin or something. But this is a more recent. This is 2021 train, and it just looks like bad. I don't know why anyone would really use this unless they really like orange. But even then, the other orange skin is better. This is only really getting credit for just having some orange on it, but I'd say it's still honestly worse than stock, and probably the brass as well, by extension. Then next up, we have the Tec-9 Blue Titanium. Just a really dark blue top. It's like marginally better than stock. But it is actually, it's in a weird place. I think it's better than that weird green thing, but only marginally better than stock. So that just shows how narrow of a margin there is kind of above stock right here. This is barely better than stock. Like, you really have to, I mean, just use this maybe if it's cheap, but it isn't even cheap, so no one's really going to use this. But from a design perspective, it's marginally better than stock. Let me get the classic that like everyone uses. I use this for ages. I actually don't know why I'm not using this. I actually do know why I'm not using this right now, because I have a skin I like a bit more, but you can't really go wrong with this. Tec-9 Sandstorm. Generally, I mean, you can get this in purple, you can get this in tan. It's very pattern dependent, but most of the time you're going to end up with something that's mostly purple with a little bit of tan. Definitely a bit more tan than what you're seeing here. This is like a particularly nice pattern or whatever. But yeah, I mean, decently clean design. Like, I don't even know what the design is, but it just always looks good in the red and random patterns you get. A lot of pattern variety is also a good thing because it makes your skin seem a lot more unique. Like 5 people, the Sandstorm will have 5 different looking skins. Like, yeah, you'll see this most of the time, maybe. But yeah, I mean, it's nice. It's a good skin, very solid skin. You can't really go too wrong with it. Definitely a solid B tier. Probably more than Tornado, even though the Tornado is kind of clean. It's like a little bit dull. But then next up is the Tec-9 Isaac. I've seen this one a lot as well. And, I mean, yeah, it's nice. It's got nice colors, like the gray and red go well together, and they're good colors of gray and red. The design itself leaves a little bit to be desired. Leaves a little to be desired. I just, like, stuttered super hard there. But yeah, leaves a little bit... I'm going crazy right now. Anyway, it leaves a little to be desired. The colors are nice. The pattern's there. It's good. It's good. You can't go too wrong with it. I'm gonna put this in B tier, and I'm actually gonna move up the Sandstorm to A tier because we really have not had any good skins so far. So it just moves up by kind of proxy. Then we have the Tec-9 Jambia. I don't know how you're supposed to say this. But yeah, it's got a super intricate top with a not so intricate bottom. I mean, it still is kind of intricate, but it doesn't look as intricate. It looks a lot more simplified. The bottom's a whole bunch of nothing, honestly. It doesn't look bad or anything, but it really doesn't do anything. It just kind of fills the space with something that doesn't, it's not bad to look at. And then the top's just kind of fancy, but still, it's just like, it's like a skin that's like just there. I'm not gonna see anyone really going crazy for this thing. It's not bad though. It's definitely just better than stock, but it's not that crazy. Probably a high C tier. Next up, the Tec-9 Ice Cap. This is what I'm currently using. Pretty much a stock Tec-9, but with a really solid light blue top. And I think there's some variety in the the patterns you can get on this, maybe. But I don't know that for a fact. But yeah, it's just a really solid light blue top, really nice color, really clean. Having used this in game, you only really see the light blue part up top, and it ends up looking really clean. Probably a high A tier. I mean, there's a reason I picked this up. I really like it. It looks good. Then we have the Tec-9 Cutout, which honestly should probably be cut out of the game. It's a whole bunch of nothing up top here, man. This is, I don't know. It's like a non-design, just worse than stock. It's F tier for me. I don't know what else to say. Then we have the Tec-9 Cracked Opal. This one's kind of infamous for having, like, I guess this one's power independent or something, but there's like you can have like a dick and balls in the back here, and people really like that and find that funny. Otherwise, I mean, it's like a stone that's like cracking open, which is kind of an interesting design, and the color they used to have it cracking open shows, almost like a rare gemstone or something inside. It's kind of a cool design, pretty interesting idea, and really solid execution. Can't really give it too much flack, especially if you get lucky and get that one pattern everyone really likes. Probably a solid B tier, right under the Tornado for me. Debatably higher, because the colors are nice, the pattern's good, the execution's great. It's just, not as clean. Then we have the Tec-9, which, yeah, you get a snake top, and then you have a bunch of kill count on the bottom, and then I guess a snake coming up the mag, which is kind of just neat little design down there. It's nothing crazy, nothing bad. Like, what you mainly see on the Tec-9 is the top part of the skin anyway. It looks okay. I'm probably gonna put it low B tier though, because it doesn't really compete with the stuff above it. We have the Tec-9 Fubar, which, yeah. This is an interesting mashup of several different skins. Like, you have like the classic camo skin at the bottom here, you have the solid color skin on the back here, and then the front here you almost have like a fade, which is really just, I mean, this is like a mashup skin, and even though the mag is technically like an army camo skin, it actually is like also just a separate design. You basically have like 4 separate parts of this weapon that are all completely separated, but actually flow together. Like, whoever made this made a lot of this stuff just flow really well into each other, even though it really shouldn't. And I gotta give you props for that. I mean, this is a crazy mashup skin, and it actually looks okay. This is definitely one of the more unique skins to see. It's like the only mashup I've seen that's done it well. And just for that, I'm going to give this a lot of credit, especially since the tip is really what you notice, which almost has like a fade-like quality to it. Probably high B tier. I'm gonna put low A tier, and I might even move my ice cap up to the S tier because there really has not been anything to compete with it yet that I can really think of. Let me the Tec-9 flash out, which is trying what the last skin is trying, but failing miserably. I mean, they have like this fifth part in the bottom here that's all gray does not go with any of these four colors up here. This weird sand color does not go with any of the other three colors up here. The brown might go with the green, but it definitely doesn't go with the light blue that's right next to it, and then the light blue goes with nothing in here. Like, this is just 5 different colors that don't go together and look really bad. I can't exactly put this in F tier because it's not as bad as all the stuff down there, but it's really, really close in D tier. Then next up we have the Tec-9 Nuclear Threat, which, yeah, I mean, solid green like skin, and then you have a pretty well placed radiation symbol. I can't remember if you actually see this in game, but if you do, I mean, it stands out really well in the skin, and the color scheme of this is good. If you do actually end up seeing that radiation symbol, then this is a fire skin. If you don't, it's still really solid, probably a high A tier. Yeah, I'm putting it there at the bottom of A tier, assuming you don't see the middle. If you do see that radiation symbol in the middle in actual play, then this is definitely probably above the sandstorm, below the ice cap in A tier. Then next up, we have the Tec-9 Red Quartz, which, yeah, it's got a really dull top to it. I guess it has like an interesting color or something, but that's about it. Honestly, I just put this below the brass. It's like marginally worse than stock, but I could see a few people liking it better, so just for those people, it's still going to stay in D tier. Then we have the Tec-9 Titanium bit, which is, I know I said the last skin was dull, but somehow this is even duller. This really just, like, I know this is different than stock. Obviously this is different than stock. You look at this and you see it's different than stock, but I could not tell you what it's doing differently, if that makes sense. This basically might as well be stock in my eyes. And that puts it all the way in the F tier, because it's worse than the free weapon you get by default. Then we have the Tec-9 Avalanche. Basically trying what the ice cap did, but a more flourished out skin, right? You actually have like the, not flourished out, more like finished skin, I guess. I cannot speak well this video. Yeah, we had like the snow coming off the mag, looks really nice. Unfortunately, the snow does not cover the whole weapon, although maybe it would have looked bad if it did. Yeah, you have like a relatively nice light blue top with a decent black like high-tech finish on the bottom that actually kind of goes well together. Yeah, it's like worse than the ice cap in my opinion because it's not as clean and simple, but it's really, really close to it in a solid color scheme and decent design to it. Then we have the Tec-9 Re-Entry, which is like a really, like, I know the Blaze is supposed to look cartoony, but this is like comic book cartoony. Like, there's like the Superman comics cartoony Blaze. It kind of doesn't work in his favor, though, that the Tec-9 gets duller in the front and then gets brighter toward the back, because normally fire kind of goes the other way around, where it starts bright and gets duller. So the inverted flame really does not do anything good here. I mean, I know that you don't see the bottom that it's stock, but whenever you do see the bottom being stock, it doesn't go well with the top half of the skin, and then the stuff the fire's going off into is not that great either. But at the end of the day, it's still decent colors, and what you end up seeing most of the time is still pretty solid, so I'll give it enough credit to put it probably in B tier, above the, I think that's the Tec-9 I have at the bottom of B tier. Yeah. Then next up, we have the Tec-9 Bamboozle. I mean, this is something I've been thinking of picking up again. I used to have one of these, and I forgot why I don't have it anymore. But yeah, I mean, it's literally a piece of bamboo as a Tec-9. The whole skin is just one big piece of bamboo with like a little attachment of like a back handle and mag. Really really creative design here, and it looks, I mean, just beautiful. Like in the back here, see the end of the bamboo, across the whole skin, this is just a bamboo stick. It looks great. It looks amazing. High S tier for me. I really like it. There's not much more I can say. Then we have the Tec-9 Brother, which is our last purple skin. And I don't know how this is a purple, because it's like a really like barf colored camo on the bottom, and then just a generic metal finish on the top. It's just one of the worst looking camo skins out there. Not as bad as the mesh. Do not get me wrong. This is not a mesh level skin, but it really is not doing itself any wonders. I'm just gonna put it low D tier. I'd actually prefer like the very camo or whatever over this, because at least then it's like a camo skin. This is like half a camo skin with half stock. It's not a good combo. Then we have the Tec-9 remote control, which is like a super high-tech Tec-9 with a very, like the one thing I gotta say with all future Tec-9 skin creators, if you have no idea where to go, just add a light blue top. It does wonders for the Tec-9. This probably will look really nice just with the light blue top, but otherwise, I mean, the design actually fits pretty well. They actually incorporated the little burnout in the front really well by having this like, you know, it just looks like it should fit there, right? It kind of works well there. And the rest of the skin's like just super high tech with a lot of switches and whatever. But basically, the light blue top is solid. The design itself is really solid across the board. Probably a bit better than the Avalanche, and I'm going to move the ice cap up to A tier because I'm just realizing just how much I love the ice cap and its simplicity. Then we have the fuel injector. Pretty simple skin. The metallic top is not actually generic for once. It's a nicer looking metal barrel. I don't know what makes this so much nicer, but they did a good job with it. The bottom half is a very nice color yellow, and then you have all these like fancy details in the mag if you ever see it. And then that almost looks like a cloth fabric front, which is an interesting design, but since it's always so faded out anyway, you're not really going to see that. What you do see is nice yellow base with a decent metallic top. It's a pretty solid skin. I really can't knock this one for much. Very simple, very solid. Probably better than the Sandstorm, but in my opinion, a bit worse than the Avalanche, even though I do really like the color yellow, mainly because the top is what matters most in the Tec-9, and the Avalanche has a cleaner top, while the Fuel Injector has a cleaner rest of the skin. And yeah, I mean, that's all I can really say about that. And then our final skin is the Decimator. There's no reds for this skin either, for the Tec-9 either, and the Decimator is, I mean, really good color scheme. Of the like this pink and blue mesh really well. They don't even have like the usual purple that a lot of these like vaporwave designs have or whatever. And honestly, it's a good thing. I mean, yet again, that light blue in the back top right here, always a good choice. The pink on the front actually is also a good choice. The stuff you do see is mainly the top of the skin. If you do ever see this gray part, it looks a little out of place, but not too far out of place. And then the bottom looks just like the top, but even with this little cool design down here on the mag. Yeah, I mean, just really solid color scheme, really decent design. Probably right under the ice cap for me in S tier, but definitely an S tier worthy skin. And that's pretty much it for the Tec-9 skins. I think there's a lot of bangers out here. Realistically, a lot of this is personal taste. I think a lot of the stuff in A tier could easily be in S tier. And depending on who you are, some of the stuff in the S tier could definitely move down to the A tier. But otherwise, I think the rest of the bottom is pretty accurate. But yeah, that's it for the Tec-9 skins. Hope you guys enjoyed looking at these as much as I did, and I will see you in the next one.